This video is a film study focused on Jaxon Smith-Njigba's clutch performance in the Seahawks' 23-20 win over the Arizona Cardinals in Week 4. He is right in line with his 2024 statistics. In fact, not only increased efficiency, 76% catch percentage, but also he's leading the league in yards per touch at 14.2. Feel free to double check that or research it for me. He's got 26 catches on 34 targets this year. Yes, only one touchdown. I think he's got the right amount of selfishness, and you can see it in a couple of the plays that I'll show here, meaning he wants the football because he recognizes that he can have a great impact. He's building on the 2024 season. I almost wonder if maybe as a Seahawks fan you don't want to see him get to 100 targets because that could mean, 100 catches, because that could mean that the run game and other factors of Seattle's offense are working out so well that you don't have to rely on him so heavily. I've got 9 plays to talk about here. JSN was certainly off to a slow start. We'll generally have him spot shadowed in yellow and the boundary illustrated by a blue line. It's going to be a toss play in the third quarter. They're trying to get Jaxon Smith-Njigba involved. In fact, I think they ran this twice during the course of the game. It's a really nice play on a 2nd and 11 after Darnold took a sack to open the quarter. Really cool blocking scheme, just a variation of what Kubiak's been running to the boundary. A pin down, and then pull, but in this case, they're doing that with a tight end. Sometimes you'll do that with a tackle. A nice little variation. I almost wonder what it would look like if the running back went to the play as opposed to stepping opposite. So here's the tight end, Arroyo, a very talented rookie who's having a lot asked of him, in my opinion. The blocking at times in short yardage situations for Arroyo, hasn't been fantastic, but I just love the fact that Kubiak and the offensive staff are putting a lot on his shoulders and not just bringing him in for pass situations. Basically, 12 personnel with Arroyo and Barner is a balanced formation from a balanced personnel group, from a run-pass standpoint. I like getting JSN involved. The one thing I will say here is that I almost wonder if the running back should go with this play. It is a pin-pull-pitch variation, so 83 Young is in the game, and he's going to pin down on the defensive end, Zaven Collins. I really do like the block that's attempted here or designed by Charles Cross. So with the defensive end / edge defender being pinned down, Cross is going to step and try to get up to the safety level. I would say this is trying to get a home run. So they're trying to get Cross out here to the boundary. Really slick blocking scheme, number one. Number two, because of the athleticism of Zabel, he's trying to get to the free safety. I really like those two guys next to each other, Cross and Zabel. I wish I had a little bit more time over the weekend after Thursday's game to do a film study video on the offensive line for Seattle because those two next to each other, very athletic, playing quite well if you ask me. Gain of 10 yards, like I said, early in the third quarter. Spot shadow down here, he will not be the target. In this case, it's a quick completion to Barner. I think this is kind of what you want as a Seahawks fan, meaning Darnold getting rid of the ball fast, making a read, getting the ball out. Could he possibly wait, hold on to the ball a little bit longer, and JSN might spring open over the middle? It's possible because of the design of the play. Basically, Kenneth Walker III is moving to the top side of the field, and that's pulling this inside linebacker, potentially vacating all this space in the middle of the field for JSN to perhaps fit onto. But that will be later in the progression. Darnold's getting rid of the ball quickly. It is a 2nd and 8. I like Darnold's decision-making. I mean, he's getting rid of the ball fast and not really caring who gets the football thrown to them. JSN's going to get his production, as you saw later in the game. In high-stress situations or moments, that's the guy you're going to look for along with Cooper Kupp. So this inside linebacker is not the guy that I'm talking about. What I mean is when Kenneth Walker III is going to slip out to the left flats here, it's going to take this inside linebacker with him. And so if Darnold was to hold on to the ball longer, he would have an opportunity to get the ball to JSN. And JSN was a little bit frustrated after this play. You saw his body language kind of sag for a moment. But I think it's the right amount of selfishness. There doesn't appear to be, to me, DK levels of frustration if he's not getting enough targets early. Definitely looking in that direction, he being Darnold. And in this case, takes the quick completion to Barner, gets him really close to a first down. Another example here, perhaps, of the gravity that JSN holds on a defense, and also really interesting alignment with Charbonnet, not motioning him out like the Dolphins and so many other teams do, like the Bills, just really setting him up as this wide back essentially creating a quad set to the downside of our screen, the right-hand side of the offense. Horton goes in motion, going to kind of run an in cut from the slot, inverting with JSN in terms of a pre-snap alignment, and then where they actually end up once the ball is snapped. Quick decision by Darnold again. And what I do like about what's happening with a lot of these throws from Darnold, whether it's to JSN or other guys, giving them an opportunity to run after the catch. Interesting stuff with Charbonnet's alignment. Hands looked really good. JSN, part of the read from the standpoint that he's to the side where Darnold is initially looking, but not the target on the play. Moving forward a little bit here, all this film is from the second half. Like I said, he's down at the bottom side of the screen. They're definitely trying to get him involved with this play action concept. It's a 2nd and 7 in the third quarter, and they're up by 11 at this point. Play action, very similar to the touchdown that he had last week against the Saints, and then I believe also had a reception in week 2, but I could be wrong there. It's a play action concept to Kenneth Walker III. Clear out route up the top side by Arroyo. A little bit of a problem with the protection in that Saubert is trying to peel back on this edge defender after going in motion away from him and then coming back to the side he originated from. So trying to jump down on the edge defender's legs. And look at the angle that Darnold doesn't have, meaning, and you'll get the end zone view so you can confirm that. JSN is taking this route to the sideline. Second level defender, absolutely in the way. It's a good miss, if you ask me. Really, it's a throwaway, in my opinion. Kubiak and company definitely trying to get JSN the ball. Same play from the end zone angle here, and you'll see him work across the field against the flow of the play fake to the running back. That's what I mean when I say horizontal conflict. Run threat to this side, play action to the other, with the potential for the quarterback to boot out. Doesn't work out that way because this edge defender is stepping down, and then Saubert's unable to cut him. So Darnold, I think, he's got really good awareness. To me, he seems to be operating at a high level in this offense. Understands, okay, I got to get rid of this ball. Maybe if you're willing to hold on to it later, or you have the opportunity to hold on to it later, if this guy's on the ground and or not in a position to put pressure on Darnold or sack him, maybe you could set your feet and throw it there. But to me, I would say, like I said, it's a good miss to get rid of that football and live to fight another day. Very next snap, in fact, is a 3rd and 7. JSN up to the top side. Really smooth with his cuts, whether it's a speed out, whether it's a pressure cut, a stutter go that you'll see a little bit later for a 36-yard gain. So very next play, like I said, lined up against Max Melton and just putting his foot in the ground quickly, inside foot, and bending the route to the sideline. Darnold getting rid of it fast because it is a high-pressure look from the Cardinals in a man situation. They trusted Melton and others against JSN, and I just felt like it was a matter of time before, if he got targets and opportunities to run onto space, that he was going to make them pay. So these two, this is the same play from the end zone angle. These two defensive ends / defensive tackles, in the case of Calais Campbell, they're basically going to occupy the guards. Outside rushers are going to occupy the tackles. And then all this mess in the middle with Budda Baker and number 2, whose name escapes me, is designed to get a 2-on-1 against the running back. So many teams are using variations of this stunt, at least early in the season. And you can see that Charbonnet steps up to take the inside linebacker, and that leaves Budda Baker free. Darnold, unfortunately for the Cardinals, gets rid of the ball quick, perfectly timed up for JSN. I feel like JSN makes the margin for error larger for the quarterback, meaning some of these throws, 3rd down, 2nd down, whatever, maybe you don't have as large of a wingspan as other big-framed receivers across the NFL, but his agility and his understanding of where to cut a route creates a larger catch radius, basically, even though from a frame standpoint, he obviously doesn't have that. He's just so smooth with his cuts, and it seems like he has a great understanding of the offense. Him and Darnold are on the same page. I feel like, I don't know what, all the advanced metrics are, but I feel like any play when JSN is targeted so far in 2025 has been extremely productive. JSN is set up into the boundary. Once again in the third quarter. Really cool concept. I call it 3 to the boundary, meaning you've got JSN, the tight end, and the running back all set to the short side of the field. The route concept is designed to take advantage of the boundary side safety, boundary side inside linebacker. It's on a 2nd and 10. All of this is on the same possession pretty much. So once this safety goes on the out route with Arroyo. Then Darnold's got a quick trigger to get that ball into the top of the numbers. JSN's got great feet. It's not just the feet and the body control. It's his ability to be in a catching position, perhaps quicker than the DB is accustomed to. And I don't know what that trait is called, just awareness of the routes, awareness of, when the quarterback will possibly be delivering the football. So Arroyo's going to pull the safety, number 42, with him, I believe. And then JSN's essentially going to sit just inside of that. In addition to that, this kind of later developing movement to the flats by Kenneth Walker is going to further open that lane that Darnold is certainly look into. Darnold's got, sharp delivery so far this season, quick reads, like I said earlier a couple of times. And the ball is generally located in a safe location to give the receiver, tight end, or running back an opportunity to make play. Very weird spot on this one. Goes down as an 11-yard gain somehow, but I thought JSN retreated. I don't exactly remember the circumstances of that one, but the play-by-play from ESPN seemed a little bit off to me. In any case, this is, of course, the hold on JSN. I haven't seen a hold yet. His left arm does go around Max Melton, but he's getting trucked. He's getting run over. The play is initially designed to go, downhill. This would have pretty much, finished things off early in the fourth quarter. It's initially designed to go downhill. And Charbonnet will bounce it once with a jump cut, and then a second time he'll jump cut to the outside. It looks to me like Max Melton thinks this run play is going inside, and so does JSN. In fact, they both think the run play is going inside, and so as a result, Melton's trying to get to the inside. Basically, Melton is trying to get here where JSN supposedly holds him, and then Charbonnet bounces it again. I just don't, certainly from this angle, right? It doesn't look egregious to me. It looks like he's just getting run over, and doesn't look bad at all here. But when you get the end zone angle, you see the left arm is around Melton for an instant. It's one of those situations or dynamics where a still frame makes it look worse, if you ask me, than live speed. You're welcome to let me know if you've got a different opinion about it, even if you're a Seahawks fan. So play action concept, I love how every week, one or both. It's usually one of these guys has been really effective, right? But even still on days where their carries or their yards per carry is perhaps down or suppressed, both of them, Walker and Charbonnet, can have an impact. There doesn't appear to be a level of selfishness about them. This is what I'm talking about. I'm still surprised that this is called. I slowed that down, obviously, for effect, and it just doesn't seem to me like that should warrant a holding call. Yes, he had his left arm around it, but Melton essentially smacks JSN in the mouth, trying to come downhill and get to the inside where Charbonnet was headed. And then when Charbonnet bounces it, I felt like Melton kind of took himself out of the play, and it's just a great adjustment by Charbonnet, great vision by Charbonnet to bounce to the outside. That's my opinion on it. I mean, if the arm around a defender constitutes a hold, then 3 or 4 offensive linemen on each snap in the NFL should be called for a hold, in my opinion. Couple of plays here from later in the game. Seahawks are up 20-13 at this point. Clutch catch on a 3rd and 6. We shouldn't be surprised. Part of the read, both of these guys, JSN and Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp kind of stealthily sneaks his route in behind the second level of the defense. Right here. And then JSN, a little bit of a stutter go. People call it a double move. I don't see a double move. I just see a stutter go, but everybody likes new names for stuff. Beautifully delivered football, man. I mean, perfect timing, perfect location, but perfect pace. And so what I mean is the ball arrives not just in the correct spot, but at the right time and with the right trajectory. And JSN's just got, a 76% catch percentage this year, like I said. I think he's 71% for his career. He appears to have the clutch gene. When you take in light the 22-yard catch that he had later that I'll show you here in a moment. The route by Cooper Kupp, I don't want to say it holds the safety, but it definitely just isolates the corner. But so many of these split field coverages are just man-on-one anyway. So if your outside receiver's going up the sideline, you're essentially talking about a man coverage. I do remember going into the draft when so many people talked about JSN as a pure slot receiver. That's all he is. It's just so ridiculous to judge these young men, especially people as young as he was, leading into that draft, just based off of a couple of seasons of college football. And now it turns out, the guy can get outside and he can do work, as witnessed by this play here and multiple others so far in 2025. Basically, you can line him up anywhere and he'll be effective. Of course, we know how that possession ended. The missed field goal by Myers. Cardinals ended up tying it and had a huge special teams breakdown by giving Seattle the football on their own 40-yard line to begin the game-winning possession. So at that point, you really don't need much to get in field goal range, especially with the way that these balls are being administered now from the standpoint of allowing access to each team to the kicking balls earlier. It's quite obvious that it's having an impact on kickoffs, but also on long field goal attempts. So you do have kind of a go seam route up top by the outside receiver. I think that's Horton. And then Kupp kind of bringing his route over the middle. I think that Sam Darnold knew where he was going with this football all the way on this particular snap there, that is. Can't really draw this route accurately, to be honest with you. It's a little bit of a fade flavor to it. JSN kind of comes back just so smooth with the way that he catches the football and then gets his body in position to get out of bounds. Very rare trait, if you ask me. Again, the only guy who I can compare him to who is this balanced, who can play inside, play outside, and with this level of efficiency is Amon-Ra St. Brown. The difference, I guess, at this point would be that St. Brown is amazing inside the red zone, and at this point, JSN just hasn't had the same impact in that area. But he does lead the NFL in yards per touch right now, like I said, in the lead-in. The Cardinals are running this weird stunt with Calais Campbell, who's still an effective football player, obviously. Depending on how Arizona's season works out, he might be, someone that multiple teams are trying to acquire at the deadline. Seems like that's the case every year. The outside rushers, are essentially occupying the tackles. A little bit of a stunt. I think number 10, who might be Sweat, doesn't really get as far as he should to the inside. Talking about right here. And basically Campbell kind of runs into him. Doesn't really matter, but the reason I want to point it out is in a high-pressure situation, Arizona at least tried something, a five-man rush, and Seattle's offensive line's up to the task. They've allowed Darnold to be sacked 6 times in 4 games, drastically different than last season with Geno Smith. I thought I saw this live, that he was able to get out of bounds, but you never know, with the knees in terms of whether he touched the ground or not. Beautiful play, man. Just great body control. Proprioceptive awareness, I guess is what some people would call it. JSN is a special talent, and right in line with his 2024 statistical production. The only difference would be, that he's more efficient now. He's more efficient, and he's gaining more yards per catch. Like I said, leading the league in yards per touch. Also, his yards per target, way up, 11.8. Yards per game, way up 100, per game. And then yards per reception. As a rookie, 10 yards per reception. Last year, while he had 100 catches, 11.3 yards per reception. And now this year, 15.5. I'm not sure that those numbers will continue, that high. Perhaps, they'll probably come down, adjust somewhat as he operates more underneath. I think that he's a versatile guy, and this is probably why the Seahawks felt so comfortable jettisoning DK Metcalf. Drafted Horton, who's been a great selection so far, a great prospect, and a guy who's already producing. High-level efficiency in JSN and the clutch gene. I do expect Cooper Kupp to have big days at some point. It hasn't occurred just yet, but he's very efficient, making himself available at times. I like those guys set up to the same side of the field, JSN and Kupp. They seem to be two guys that are super smart and can exploit the defense depending on the route combination. In any case, you guys let me know what you think of the video in the comment section. JSN, one of my favorite young players to watch. You may not even be aware of how highly I think of Amon-Ra St. Brown. Literally, if you gave me a choice of 11 football players, if we're going to go 11 personnel, and we've got to play some alien race in football to win a game, I'm picking Amon-Ra St. Brown as one of my 11 players. And I recognize that there's other people who, would have a drastically different opinion. I think he's one of the best football players in the league. And so for me to compare JSN to him is a high compliment, just based on all the Lions film that I've watched and how effective and virtually unstoppable St. Brown can oftentimes be. I see a lot of the same traits in JSN, at least so far in 2025. If you think other Seahawks fans would enjoy this film study look at JSN's 4-game start, I don't think it's a hot start, to be honest with you. I think this is just who he is from a production standpoint. If you think other Seahawks fans will enjoy it, please consider grabbing a link to this video, sharing it out on social media to help this content get more reach.